All right, well, welcome back to preparing for MTA Exam 98375 HTML Application Development. Alongside Rachel Jones, I am Christopher Harrison. And when we left off, we had taken a look at HTML, which again is how we're going to put together our data. Right. Now what we want to do is take a look at how we're going to position and colorize and do all of those cool things with our pages. Or in other words, take a look at style.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about style, Rachel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're just going to make it pretty.
There we go.
Make it
done
pretty.
and done. Okay. Well, thank you for joining for this module. Yeah. And all right, there's probably a little bit more to say.
A little bit more than that, yeah. But we need to tidy it up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to take off where we left off in Module 2.
Yep.
We built the UI.
Yep.
And now we need to format a little bit.
Yeah.
And to do that, we are going to use CSS.
Perfect.
Yeah. Cascading Style Sheets.
Cascading Style Sheets.
Yeah. We're going to start from the very beginning, just like we did with the HTML portion. We're going to break it down so that you understand the syntax, how to set up the basic structure of your styling. And then we're going to go on and look into where you're going to write it. There's a couple of different places you can put it. You can put it right in line into your HTML page.
Yep.
You can take it a step further in your HTML page, but take it out a little bit and embed it up into the top where it's all together. And then we'll look at how to externally move all of that styling into a separate file. We'll talk about some benefits as we move along.
Yeah. Yep.
And while we're going through that, we'll actually talk about why it's called Cascading Style Sheets, right?
Perfect.
We'll talk about the cascading principle and the inheritance principle. And we'll finish off with doing some little demos on how you can add some very quick little graphical effects just using CSS, not even having to write any JavaScript code.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
Really cool. So let's jump right in. Talk a little bit about the CSS syntax. When you're writing CSS, it's basically broken down into 3 sections. You've got your selection, you've got your property, and you've got your value.
Okay. So the I was going to say, so the selection is the items that you're looking for, the items that you're wanting to play with?
Yeah, the objects, yeah.
All right.
The objects.
Yep.
Properties, you can kind of think of those as maybe the characteristics. That might be a good way.
Yep.
And then the values, of course, are the things that you're going to change, the way you're going to change it. Might help if we actually looked at an example.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do that. Let's look at an example. By the way, you're going to stick in a couple of little curly brackets and semicolon or two there to finish off your syntax. And then here's our little example. And let's actually compare.
Okay.
I think that would actually help. In this case, H1 is going to be our selection. That's our object, as you mentioned, Christopher.
Yep.
Then our property is going to be the color.
Okay.
That's the characteristic that you're going to change. And you're going to change that to the value of red.
Okay. So it looks to me like that H1 would sort of be like a noun, that's the item or the objective. That's what I'm looking to modify.
Love the analogy, yes.
And then that property sounds like the adjective. That'd be something about it. So it'd be like crayon and then color to kind of keep building on that analogy. And then the value that I'm looking for there is red. But in this case, it looks like we're going to be taking all of the H1 tags, and then we're going to be taking that color and making that red.
That's right. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, if I had more than one H1 tag, they would all be changed, correct?
Excellent. Yeah, okay. I see it. Yeah.
I also want to point out while we're here, if you are reading information about CSS and the syntax of CSS, you might hear these 2 things referred to as the declaration.
Okay.
Selection and declaration.
Okay.
All right.
I like it.
Let's move forward. You might see the syntax looking something like this, just a little bit more complicated.
Yep.
Not that much, though. We're going to be doing several things to the H1 element.
Okay.
So we're just going to wrap it all together up between the open and close bracket.
Okay. So kind of, again, go back to a marker. So a couple of different properties. So I'd have maybe color would be red. Type would be, say, dry erase, and then maybe scent would be strawberry. You remember those scented markers as a kid?
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, maybe you've got some of those. So again, kind of that, just like an object in real life could have multiple properties and you could set those values. It looks like that's the exact same thing here, that we could go to that H1 tag and we could set multiple properties on that.
Yeah, at the same time, right? Just group it all together.
And then just separate them out with semicolons. I love it.
it.
Okay.
Let's jump right in.
Yeah,
I love
let's
demos.
look at it. Let's actually see it.
Right.
Yep.
Let's do a couple of things. We're going to look at it first, how we would do it right in line onto our page.
Okay.
We'll take it a step further, bunch it all together.
Okay.
We put it at the top in our head section of our HTML page.
Okay.
Then we're going to totally separate our concerns and put it in a separate file.
Okay.
But we're going to build, starting first with simple and then moving forward.
I like it.
Let's just continue working with the demonstration that we have been using, our little travel blog, and see if we can clean this up a little bit.
Give it a little bit more style, a little more punch.
In case somebody's just joining us, I'm going to go ahead and run it so that they can see what we have up to this point, and if they want to follow along and create something similar so that they can practice.
Yeah, I always love the before and after when it comes to demos.
Right.
Okay.
And again, I'm not promising very pretty. It's just going to be neat. Right?
Okay.
In the 15, 20 minutes of this video, we can't do a whole lot, but we're going to certainly get started. First, inline styling.
Okay.
Let's say that we want to do something to this header.
To that specific one.
Yeah,
okay.
So I'm going to position myself right inside of my HTML right there, and I'm going to specify that I want to do some styling. So I'm going to specify that attribute here.
Seems pretty straightforward. Just style. Yep. Okay.
Just style, and then what I want to style. Let's set the color. How about that?
Okay.
And hey, this is kind of a neat feature.
I like that.
Matrix got a little graphical interface. I'm going to use my arrow, my down arrow key to press that, and then my left and right to move forward. And you notice as I'm moving forward, it's writing the hexadecimal value for me, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a couple of ways that I can actually specify that. In this instance, I'm specifying it as a hexadecimal. I could, in fact, actually just type in the word red. That would do it as well.
Yeah, there are a set of names that you could use there. Okay.
But let's just see how it looks. Simple little line. This is inline styling.
Okay, and I'm noticing that there isn't a selector there because you've put the style right on the H1. So you're basically, you've gone to the tag and said, I want you to be red.
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect.
Right inside of this tag.
Yep.
And I'm going to go here.
Very
and
forceful
voila.
there.
You. Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Yes. H1. And there we go. We've got a little bit of styling.
All right.
Let's take it a step further.
Let's do it.
We want to do several things to that header as well as some other things, maybe to the paragraph. And it does get a little cumbersome if we write all of our CSS right in line. It's hard to differentiate between our HTML and our CSS.
Yeah.
Very good practice then to separate that out. Now, for exam preparation, if you see something like we just did, that's absolutely correct. You can do it that way. But in terms of real world, developing some real world good tips, right? Good development tips, you'll want to try to separate out that concern as much as possible.
Yeah, I could see that tag just getting longer and longer and longer as you keep trying to specify, well, I want this property and this property and this property.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to move up to my head section here, and I'm going to just start off with the style.
Okay.
Tag.
Using the down arrow I see there.
Oh, yeah, isn't that nice? Again, where I love using tools like Web Matrix. And I'm going to start styling, just like I did earlier. Back to my header one. I'm going to start with my open bracket. And
that was kind of cool. When you typed in H1, it actually highlighted that H1 tag, so kind of a neat little way to see this is what we're changing. Okay.
Right. All right, let's go ahead and let's do blue this time.
Okay, I like blue.
Fancy.
Sure.
And let's do something else. So we can do several things here. Let's go ahead and align our text to the center of our page.
Okay.
Oh, got away from me there. Let's try that again.
There we go.
And center. All right.
Perfect. I like it.
All right, let's do a little bit more. We've done some stuff to the heading. You know, let's do this. Let's not only style H1, let's style the subheading, the H2.
Okay, let's do it.
Rather than having to retype all of that, what I'm going to do is just position myself right here.
So you just put a comma there, and that way you can actually identify multiple tags.
Right.
Okay.
So everything in this area will be these. Let's go ahead and style the paragraph too while we're at it here. And let's do some text alignment there as well. We'll line this to the left just to show a little bit of
just indicate, hey, we want that over on the left side. I like it.
Let's bring this out a little bit, say 12 pixels.
So a margin giving a little bit of white space there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just see how it looks. We're going to kind of go on the fly here. Now I'm going to specify a font family, and let's just do the traditional sans serif there. You know, I'm going to specify something else. A couple of others. Let me type it in, and then we'll talk about what we're doing.
And so you can actually specify multiple types there. Okay.
Yeah. So remember that your application is going to be rendered in a browser, and you are really not in control of that environment.
Right.
So what we're doing here is setting things up. So if that browser, if sans serif is not available on the browser that's running your application, then we're going to go to Arial. And if Arial's not available, then we'll go to Myriad Pro.
Okay. All right. I like it.
That's what we're doing. Let's run it and see what happens. And
that's interesting. So I'm
know what
noticing the blue there. I'm also noticing, you know, there was that little bit of space down below. I'm noticing it's in the center, but that California road trip, that's in red.
I was not ready to talk about that, Christopher, but you know what?
It's
this
there.
Is perfect.
See, we're really cooking on this show.
Nothing
so
like
what
doing
happened there?
Well, I think I know what.
Yep, I know exactly.
You know too, right?
Yeah.
So let's since it's happened,
talk cascading. Yeah.
Since it happened right here, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you what happened. We were going to talk about it anyway. So, and this is a perfect example. I mentioned earlier that you might want to start separating out your concerns and not having a lot of CSS just jumbled right on into your HTML page. This is a perfect example, live, right here, of why you may not want to do that.
Yeah.
Let's look at that. Let's explain it. Yes, up here I specified that I wanted my color to be blue, right here. But remember the demo I did earlier to my H1?
Right? Okay.
I've got a conflict here.
Right.
I've got a little bit of a conflict. And this can happen if you're going to be doing styling in several different places. HTML5 handles that by setting an order of precedence.
Right.
All right, here it is. Here's your order of precedence. First priority goes to any inline styling that you have.
Okay.
Right? This is an example of inline styling, and that's why that particular heading was red.
Okay.
Second priority is going to go to styling that is embedded up into your head section, but still on your page.
Okay, so in the page, yep.
Third priority will go to any external style sheet. We haven't talked about that yet, but we will. We're going to be getting to that. But it's important to understand that order of precedence that's going to happen when there's a styling conflict. And this is a perfect, nothing like actually making it happen during a live session here.
Absolutely. So it sounds to me like the closer that it is to whatever it is that we're trying to style, that's what's going to win. Because if it was on, that wins. If it's in the file, that's second place. And if it's external, that's third place. So it sounds like the closer that it is to that particular item, that's what's going to win. Okay, I like it.
That was really good that happened. Glad it did. I'm going to delete that.
Okay.
And now everything should be fine.
Now we should see blue.
And voila.
There we go. I like it.
So we see our font family. We see that it's, indented a little bit from the left.
Okay.
And we're beginning to have a fairly nice looking travel blog.
Yeah, it's getting there. I like it.
We got a ways to go, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
All right, we've got
that. So how would we? So right now, all of that's still in the file. What happens if I maybe want to put that somewhere else so I can use that in multiple files, in multiple HTML files?
Let's actually demonstrate that, right? So we want to be able to reuse our styling, is what you're suggesting.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is actually put that out in a separate style sheet.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and start by creating a new file.
Okay.
And you notice I have an option to do CSS.
Oh, well, there you go.
There we go. It gives it a default name of style sheet.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. I'll leave that.
Yeah, that works.
I'm going to go
defines
back.
what it is. Style sheet.
Going to go back here.
Yep.
And I am going to just copy and paste this out.
So you're taking the exact same CSS that you had typed out a second ago, and you're just putting that right into the CSS.
I'm going to open this up, just replace what's here. Hit my trusty Control-V, and
Okay.
voila, there it is.
All right.
All right, that's came in a little bit messy. I'm going to use my Control-KD. That's a handy little shortcut.
I love that shortcut,
Control-KD, and that'll clean up some of your coding.
So Control-K, Control-D, and that will automatically format the document. Yep. I'd mentioned, by the way, for anybody who's going to be using Visual Studio, that shortcut also works in Visual Studio, which I really like.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, so, okay, we've got it out here. Let's go back here. Christopher, and let's just delete it. We don't need it here anymore.
Okay, but we got to mention that file somehow. All right.
Yeah, so what you're saying, if we just run it, we don't get any styling.
That's not good. So it's not going to automatically find the file. We got to tell it what one to use.
We've got to do something here,
okay.
right?
Yep.
All right. So what we're going to do is establish a link. How about that?
Okay, that looks perfect.
Establish a link. And what we've got to do is reference what we're going to be doing here. So we're going to establish an href, and that's just simply going to be the path to our style sheet. It's embedded right here into our project, so we just simply say the name of the file. And we're going to establish a relationship. What is it that we're trying to link up?
Right,
we're trying to link up
you pointed at something, but what is it? What is it?
The style sheet.
Oh, okay, all right. You just have to tell it it's a style sheet.
That's it.
Okay, done and done.
Done and done. We run it, and now we should get our style.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
And you could use that style sheet across multiple HTML files.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And of course, that's the big advantage, right? Of having it external is because now that gives me an opportunity to reuse that. Also, in addition, one more thing, it helps make my application a little bit more accessible. We talked about the importance of making your applications accessible. A user could actually override your style sheet with their personal style sheet. That might make their fonts bigger if they needed to see something larger on a screen. So, again, the idea of reusability and also accessibility.
Okay. I like it. I like it.
Very good. So let's...
Reusability is a good thing. Makes our lives so much easier.
That's right. Code reuse.
Perfect.
All right. Let's move on now. I think actually I want to change that title back to black.
You do?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's just change it just for the heck of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back to black there.
Okay. Can I use the shortcut hex there?
Right.
000, turn off all the colors, black. Yep.
We looked earlier at our situation of order of precedence, right? So we saw how things were inherited and how we needed to be careful. We also want to talk a little bit about those principles of inheritance, of cascading, and how that works. So I'm going to do actually a little demo here. I'm going to add some CSS to demonstrate that. I'm going to go up to this section, and let's add some styling to the body.
Okay, so the body is going to be all of the text.
Yeah.
Yep.
In fact, we'll actually go look at that. That's a good point. Let's do a script and something that that's going to stand out. We may not really use it in real life, but something like a script tag.
Okay.
Just so that we can differentiate what's happening.
I was hoping you were going to use Comic Sans MS.
Do you like that one?
There was somebody that was in the studio a while ago that mentioned that. Anyway, it's a long story.
All right, let's go to your point about what's encapsulated in the body. Let's actually look at our HTML.
Okay.
And we can see inside of the body, we actually have several tags that are nested inside, or what we call child tags, right? We've got H1, H2, we've got paragraph. Let's actually see what happens.
Everything's inside that body. Okay.
So I've specified here that I want the body.
You want that to be that funky script.
All right. Some of it was changed, but not all of it.
Not all of it. No, the stuff down below wasn't.
Yeah, we've got our footer that's changed, but the information that's in our paragraph didn't change. Let's go see why that is.
Yeah.
If we look at this, we notice that actually in our paragraph, we actually specified here a specific font that we wanted.
Okay.
So that got precedence, right? Since we didn't specify anything for our headers,
it picked up that little script.
It's inherited from the parent body.
Okay, so
that's an example of this cascading feature, right?
Okay, so kind of going back to what we talked about before, the closer it was to the element, that's that one. So here, it also looks like the more specifically that you've described that particular element, that's what's going to win.
Yes.
Okay.
And if I have not specifically described, it will inherit.
Right. Okay, we'll inherit from above. So because of the fact that you called out paragraph, when it's a paragraph, it's going to be using that sans serif.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's it.
I love it.
That's it.
Okay.
All right. I think we're ready to move on now. We have demonstrated inline CSS. Mm-hmm. We've looked at taking that out and at least embedding it up into the top of our head, and that was better, right? Mm-hmm. But even better is to totally separate out that concern into a separate CSS file.
Right, yeah.
Inside of your application. So as Christopher mentioned, you could reuse it.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Just as a recap, let's talk about where we've been and then where we need to go with this module. Okay. Hopefully you have a good understanding now of how you're going to set up the syntax for your CSS. You know how to create some inline. We saw firsthand some of the things that could go wrong with that, though. So yes, if you see that in code or if you see that on the test, it's correct, but we are advising that maybe in the real world, as you begin developing habits for creating HTML applications, that you go ahead and separate that out.
Yeah, keep everything nice, separated, clean, that separation of concern. You hear that a lot when you're talking about HTML5, and it really is key. In the long run, that yes, you've got more files, but in the long run, it is going to make your life that much easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. What we want to talk about now is some cool things we can do with graphics.
Yeah, okay.
We can do things such as round corners without hardly any bit of code. We can set some transparency, and we'll actually do a demo of that. Maybe we'll put a watermark on the back of our little travel blog.
I like it.
And then we want to at least understand these terms: transformations, transitions, and typography.
All right.
Christopher, we could probably spend about 2 weeks, right, just talking about some of these complex things like transformations and transitions.
Yeah.
I want you to know that for preparing for this exam, you should understand what those things are, have a basic understanding of how you might set up the syntax, some methods, and, and events that are available for these, but that's about it.
Okay.
Because not really too much detail. You're not expected to have created an application that does a complete transformation, but we want to make sure that you understand what it is.
Because after all, this is an entry-level exam, so you don't need to know the ins and outs of all the different advanced features that are available with JavaScript and HTML and CSS. Okay.
Very good.
Perfect. I love it. I love it.
Time for a demo.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's do code.
Yeah, let's do some code. What we're going to do is work on our travel blog. We're going to create a little... fancy up the header a little bit.
Okay.
It looked kind of bland, so we're going to maybe add a border around that, some color, and then round the corners. And then, as we mentioned before, we'll go ahead and add an image and watermark that onto our page.
Okay. Let's see it.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
All right. So since I'm going to be working, I want my header to include both H1 and H2. So I'm going to come back to my code here, and I'm going to actually wrap this around the semantic header.
Okay, so that header, that HTML semantic, just simply saying, hey, we want this up at the top. So you're just simply kind of giving that little bit of extra info to browsers. All right.
And it'll just make my styling a little bit easier.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that in my little Control KD again.
All right. Yep.
Love that. All right, now I'm going to go back to my style, and I'm going to start styling this. So I'm going to first change this to header, so that whole section is going to be done the same way. Let's wrap that around a border, and I'm going to just put 500 pixels. Let's see where we end up with that, and let's add a little background color. How about a pretty gold?
Okay.
That. And let's just run it. Let's just see what we've got thus far. I like to do that often. Okay. Look better. Oh, the other thing I want to do is get rid of this script, right?
Right.
That was our example from the last time. So let's take that off. We proved our point there. But what we want to do now is round the borders of the corners of our border. We're going to use the border radius. There we go.
Yep.
And it's going to take 4 attributes.
So you're just specifying what you want the radius of each corner to be. Okay.
And you know what? Maybe I should actually, let me give a little, to help you remember what order those are supposed to go in. Let me actually draw it. You can visually think of it as the same way that you would actually draw a rectangle on the page. Most of us would start in the upper left-hand corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
So if you go back to my slide, I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. So we start here. And we draw. So, oh, that's a crooked line, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let me try that again.
That's all right.
Let me try that again. Here we go. Start here. That's going to be our first point. Then here, second point. And then continuing down, we get third point and fourth point, right?
Yep.
So what we can say here is this is the first attribute, second attribute, third, and fourth. And that's how you're going to remember it. So the order is, top
kind of
left,
logical,
top right, bottom right, and then bottom left.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let's run that and see what we get. And I get nothing.
I think you're going to want 5 pixels instead of 500 on the border.
I think what I've done here is, you think I need a little bit more? Let's try this first. I don't think I need to put. I think that was a little syntax error on my part. Let's run that.
And that is, there you go. There's your rounded corners.
My rounded
that
corners.
is one of those things that happens constantly, is you just go in and kind of make a little mistake like that. So, that happens.
And the only way that's why I like to write a little bit of code, run it and test it. Write a little bit of code and run it and test it.
Yeah.
So we've got some rounded corners. You know, we might want to do a little feng shui look, right, where we have 2 corners rounded and the other 2 not, just so that I demonstrate that the attribute. So let's do this. Let's take this off and this one off.
Okay.
And run that. And we can see now the effect.
Okay,
there.
yeah. So
you can see how those attributes are
that lower left, that upper right. So again, it starts from the upper left, and you said you want round, so that was the 20 pixels. On the upper right, you said you didn't, so you said 0 pixels. And then down to the lower right, you said you wanted 20 pixels. That's the corner. And then finally, the lower left, 0 pixels.
Yep.
Okay, right. I'm with you.
All right.
I'm following along.
Looking good. You know, we want to do one more thing. We had mentioned earlier in an earlier module, we probably want to format this footer to the bottom, so we'll work on that. Let's go ahead and set this all back to 20 pixels, though. And I can do a little shortcut, actually, Christopher, right? I can just, if I'm going to have them all the same, I'll just say border radius 20.
That makes it that much easier. I love it.
And we're going to do a little styling to our footer here before we move on.
Now, one little thing to mention here, because you'll notice all of those different mas and all of those pop up when Rachel goes inside of there. And the reason that that's there is because CSS is an ever-changing thing. And over time, what's happened is different browser manufacturers have wanted to introduce features that were maybe a bit ahead of the CSS specification. And so as a result, they started tagging it with their own different things like Moz for Mozilla or Firefox, as it were, and to try and keep everything separated. One big thing about the exam is that this is an HTML5 exam. So don't worry about any of those different abbreviations. So as far as like Moz and WebKit and all of those, don't worry about those. It's HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript. So border radius, as an example, will work as border radius on the exam. Don't worry about any of those prefixes. So if you're seeing them, you're maybe not sure what they are, that's what they are. They're specific to different types of browsers. In regards to the exam, though, don't worry about them.
That's a great point. Yeah. Good to point out that you're actually probably going to see that. If you start looking at code, you're going to see that. And, of course, now you know what it is.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
All right, good. But let's go back to my screen and talk about some of the things that we've done to the styling of the footer. The first thing we've done is position it so that it's fixed. And what I mean by that is I want it to be fixed to the border of my browser.
Okay.
That's what I'm specifying. And then I'm going to bring that up 10 pixels from the bottom. For the test, understand positioning. Now, here's a great way to familiarize yourself. Use the IntelliSense, right? As I begin typing this in, I get a little list of all the various positions of ways that I can position something on a page. Take some time to go through these different positions and familiarize yourself. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and set this fixed.
And fixed is going to be relative to the browser window.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Not to other elements, but to the browser.
The browser window,
okay.
right? All right. So now we're all set to go. Let's just run this again. And we can see now that our footer is properly placed at the
down
bottom.
there at the bottom, it's a footer. And if you resize the browser, what would happen? So if you took it out of maximum screen mode, and you'll notice it stays right there. It is, in fact, fixed to that browser window.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay.
Nice.
Perfect.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about transparency. We want to add a picture to the back of our
that little watermark that you were mentioning.
Yeah, a little watermark. So let's actually do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'll just add another section here. I'm just going to use the div section. How about that?
Okay.
It still is alive and well.
Div, div, div.
And I'm going to add an image to my div. Oh, forgot my little... There we go. And the image is...
Did you want to be in the HTML?
No, yes, I did. I'm just typing right away.
Hey,
I'm not ready to style it. I'm going to come back to this. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'll leave that here, and I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Let me go back and add that here. All right.
Okay. There we go.
No wonder my IntelliSense wasn't working correctly.
It's one of those things, hey, look, there's a file in front of me. Just start typing. Yep. The number of, you want an IMG.
Oh, thanks.
There you go.
Okay, IMG. There we go. Now we're ready to
Now we're cooking with
type in. I've got a little squiggly line because it's telling me I have some attributes that I have to put in. So it needs a source.
By the way, squiggles or squiggly line, those are, in fact, the technical terms. And no, I'm not actually making a joke. It is.
Really?
Yeah, red squiggles.
Official tag.
Yep. True story. So you're adding in the image file to your little web matrix site here.
Yes.
Okay.
And I've got a little image here, travel map. We're going to add that in. And
Okay.
I'll type that in.
Travel map.jpg. Yep. I'm with you.
Still got the squiggly because I need one more attribute, and that's the alt.
And what's that alt going to do for us?
Well, that's going to, again, we're talking about making your application more accessible. That's going to make it accessible. So for screen readers to pick up, or when your visual can't be shown, it'll pick up this alternate text.
Okay, I dig it. Search engines like that as well, because you're now describing what that image is. And it's a background image.
Squiggly goes away.
Yay!
All right, if I run this, I wonder how it's going to look.
Only one way to find out. All right. Okay, well.
Yeah, okay, it's a start, right? But I probably want to reposition it a little bit. And it's not in a watermarked format, right? So I want to work on that.
Yeah, so we kind of want it in the background and, a little transparent. That's really not in the background nor transparent.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so now, do I get to go to Style Sheet?
Now you can go to Style Sheet. There we go.
Now I'm going to go to Style Sheet, and I'm going to begin styling that. I'm going to go ahead and set the position. And let's just say it's fixed. We're going to fix that to the window there. And I'm going to specify that I want it all the way up to the top. I'm going to say, let's just test this out.
So just a little bit of space between the top of the browser and where the image is. Okay.
I'm going to run that and just see what happens. Oh, okay.
Right.
So I got a little issue, right?
So, well, you succeeded. You got the image to the top.
Right.
Well done there.
But I've got several things on my page, and I need to specify the order that I want that to show. I want this actually to be moved to the background, and I want my video and my text to be forward.
Right.
I'm going to need to do a little bit of styling to do that. I'm going to use the Z-index.
Okay. So Z-index or Z-index is how you're going to indicate how you want everything to be ordered, to be displayed. So
I'm
that -1...
Send it to the back.
Okay. All right. -1, just push it right to the back.
And then the other thing that I want to do is I want to make it a little bit transparency. Remember, we were going from more of a watermarked image.
Right.
So I'm going to set the opacity property.
Fancy
and
word
let's
there.
just set it to, say, 0.5, 50%.
Okay.
Let's see.
That's a percentage. Okay.
Yeah, I would say, let's go with 0.3.
0.3? Okay.
We just kind of want it in the,
Oh,
see?
that's looking, I
better,
dig
right?
it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let's take it a step further.
All right.
One of the things that we want to do, you notice that the border color is solid, and I don't see any of that background image. And we'd like to do that. We'd like that background image to bleed through a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to set the transparency for that as well.
Okay.
All right, we're going to do that up here in the header section. Now, I could actually go up here and do the same thing. I could work with the opacity attribute, but I want to demonstrate that there's another way to do that. Notice that I set background color here, and I set it with the hexadecimal. We also said that we could have actually just said gold. There's still a third way to do that.
Oh, okay.
And that's using the RGB. All right?
Yep.
Red, green, blue. And those are going to be 3 values somewhere in between 255.
For red, for green, for blue.
Yeah,
Okay.
0 and 255. So, okay, we're going to take a guess. Gold is going to be, say, about 255, 190, and there is no blue in gold, but we need one more value.
Okay.
We're going to use RGBA, and A stands for alpha channel.
Ah, all right.
And we're going to set the alpha there.
Okay.
Let's set it to 0.5, about 0.5.
Don't forget a comma.
Yeah.
Right after your 0.
Okay. Yep. I'll go back and do that.
There you go. Yep.
Thank you.
So it looks like there's oftentimes going to be multiple ways that you could do something, and sometimes it's just a matter of personal preference, and sometimes it might be one way that's better than another, but it sounds like a lot of times it's really just kind of personal preference.
It is personal preference,
okay.
right.
All right.
But I think that our viewers need to know that there are different ways to see things.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to recognize those differences on the test.
Okay.
And when you're reading code,
Yep.
you need to know that there is more than one way to do things. Let's take a look at this, see how it looks. I'm going to run it. See, now
okay,
we see a little bit of that kind of blading in.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. All right.
So we've looked at simple ways to round corners, a little bit of graphic effects with CSS, no JavaScript needed.
Right.
Simply with your styling. And then we looked at how to do transparency. And we also, so it's important also to notice that setting the opacity or the transparency can be done on any element or object on your page, not just an image. In this case, we did an image as well as just the header section.
Yep. Yeah. So, cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. We need to talk a little bit about these things.
Yes. Yeah, you had highlighted that before, those transformations, transitions, typography.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that our viewers just at least at the basics understand what these things are.
Yep.
So for definition, transformations is simply taking an object that's on our page and it could be a one-dimensional object and transforming that, if you will, or changing it
not
into
just a clever name,
2- or 3-dimensional space.
Okay. All right.
On the other hand, transitions are an animation. It could be as simple as a circle on your page, and you move that across your page. That's considered an animation. So it can be very simple.
Okay.
And actually, not a whole lot of code. I'm going to actually show you some demos on that. You're going to be quite impressed.
Okay. I like it.
Typography, that is the study, or really and truly, it's an art. It's an art of laying out the typeset on your page. Things like choosing your font style, choosing the position on your page of your fonts, choosing the terms such as leading and kerning.
Okay.
So
all of those kind of fancy things that people can get into. So,
yeah.
So,
so let's define that for our users. So the leading is going to be the space between the horizontal space between your characters.
Okay.
And the
kerning.
Yeah. So So I've got that backwards.
Oh, okay. That's all right.
So the kerning is the horizontal space, and the leading is between the lines.
Okay, so leading between the lines, kerning is the horizontal
just
space.
Some typography stuff, just some terms that you should be familiar with and understand basics about what typography is.
Yeah.
And again, that's, there are semester-long courses to learn about design and typography.
Right.
You just want to make sure that you can differentiate between these and know what they do. I think the best way to demonstrate these is to go to Microsoft's test drive. I couldn't do a better demo than what they do. So I want to reference this link for you and take you out there for the IE test drive, and we can actually look. Let's first look at transformation so you can see a visual of what that actually does.
Give that a second to come up.
Yep.
There we go.
But slowly, about 2 words a minute, but we'll get there.
Give that just a moment to come on up.
If you haven't explored this test drive, by the way, it is a fantastic place. I know that you have been there before. But so we start off with transformations, and this is some great background reading for you that I'm going to recommend for you to learn more about what a transformation is.
So this isn't Flash or Silverlight. This is all HTML, CSS, JavaScript.
CSS. All done, yes. So in the bottom right-hand corner, I'm going to click that. Whoa, that's a transformation. How about that? And then there's some reading that'll tell you a little bit about how that was done. That's a transformation.
Coming at you. I need my 3D glasses for that one.
So this is a great, there are more. This is just a great place for you to go and explore and see firsthand exactly what that is. Let's talk a little bit more about transitions, typography. Again, there's some samples out there on the Internet Explorer test drive.
Give that a moment to come on up there.
Maximize that while we're waiting. In fact, there's plenty of other things. Transformations, transitions, typography, that's what we're looking at now. But if you notice, transparency. Hey, we've already done that. Border radius. There's some other things that you can go and explore for reinforcement right here on this site.
I dig it.
Transitions. Let's go there. That's a transition. It's just, I know, right? Okay, wait. Watch this. This is the code right here that does this. Just right here. This simple
that's
CSS.
Simple. So from the left top and
just transition.
Transition over 2 seconds.
What's really nice about this test drive is I can go in and visually interact, and you notice that the code is changing as I'm making these changes, and then we'll see some changes. We'll see physically, be able to watch. So this is a great place to explore. Again, you can grab the URL up here, but we're going to provide all of these URLs at the end of each one of these modules for you to go in and explore a little bit. I did want to take you to typography, so let me jump back there real quick.
Give that a second to reload.
A busy morning out there.
I always love the little hourglass that flips up and down. Little things that
just
make
to
me
keep
happy.
keep you happy. Okay, typography, here we go. So this is just some great reading that actually shows you some information, a visual representation, but good information in here to explain a little bit about typography. So if you're not familiar with that, and a lot of developers aren't, sometimes you're either on the design side or the developer side, but you need for this test to at least have a basic general understanding about what it is. And I couldn't do it better, really, than what Test Drive does, so I recommend that you go out there.
Absolutely. Just go in and start playing around.
Best way to do it, again.
All right.
CSS in a nutshell. Christopher, that's it.
So it looks like with CSS that what we saw there is the fact that we could go in and declaratively indicate how we want to look at things, that we don't have to go in and do everything with HTML. In fact, we really don't, that we want to do that with CSS. We saw how we could go in, put that on the individual elements, how we could split that out to a section on the page, and then eventually there to an end file.
Yep, that's right. That's our main. That's where we're trying to get to, right? Is separate out those
separation
concerns.
of concerns.
Right.
Awesome.
But
we want
to make sure that we mention that to understand about inheritance and cascading principles.
Cascading style sheets. Again, that the closer that you get to an element, that's what's going to win.
Right.
Okay.
And you know how to do a few graphical effects with CSS, like rounding corners, setting transparency. Nothing earth-shattering, but lots of fun stuff now that you can do right in CSS.
Yep. Fantastic. So what do you say we take another break, and then we'll come on back and we'll take a look at how we could incorporate a little bit more dynamic ability. He said to maybe make up a word, how we could actually kick things up a little bit with JavaScript and some code. So we'll take a break, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thanks.